Wayward Courier by Speven Dillberg, the Mojave's deadliest in Equestria. Chapter 1. I'm going to fucking kill this think tank. Those were the first words out of my mouth when I realized I was not where I was meant to be. I was supposed to end up in the Mojave drive-in, not some dank forest that looked as though it hadn't been touched by the bombs. My first thought was I was somewhere in Zion. It certainly seemed green enough, but there were no signs of the national park that used to be there. Definitely not the Sierra Madre, thank God. Or the Divine, thank God again. As to make matters worse, my Pip-Boy 3000 couldn't tell me where I was, seeing as I was using old pre-war satellites. Not surprising. At least I knew death wasn't going to happen. A set of elite riot gear, a silenced 12.7mm submachine gun, marksman carbine, ranger's Aquala, and a displacer glove. Some people might call that kind of weaponry armor overkill. I call it being better safe than sorry, a lesson I learned the hard way. That kind of thinking kept me alive when I helped the NCR win the second battle of Hoover Dam. Suppose I better introduce myself, huh? I run the Lucky 38 casino in the New Vegas Strip. I wiped out the fiends, I put down the powder gangers. I walked into Kaisar's tent and put 2 holes in his head as his entire elite guard watched. I beat the monster of the East to death with his own helmet. A lot of people just call me the Courier though, even after all this time. Legends die hard because in the Mojave, that's who I am to a lot of people. A living legend. No map, no radio, no idea where the fuck I was. Good start to what would seem to be a good day. Should've known that was just the first sign. And as if to add insult to injury, I fell on top of the transportal ponder when I landed. So not only did I have no idea where I was, I had no way back. I wasn't the sort to just sit around and wait for something to happen though. The compass on my Pip-Boy still worked, so I headed northwest. Don't know why, just felt like it. Things went by uneventfully enough, which was both good and bad. Good because I wasn't using any ammo. Bad because my paranoia was at the highest level, since shortly after I managed to escape the Sierra Madre. I had to keep a gun under my pillow for weeks after that just to get some sleep. Didn't help that one night it went off and nearly put a hole in my head. Eventually I heard a roar. My first thought was it was a Yagwai. I hate those things. I also heard to what seemed to be screaming. Whatever that thing was, it was attacking someone. As I had learned before, best way to make a good impression on the community was to save a member of it, so I headed in that direction. At first, I thought I ingested a cocktail of Psycho, Jet, Turbo, and Hydra, then washed it down with some moonshine. After all, what I was seeing was easily the strangest thing I have ever seen. This coming from a man who has talked to a brain in a jar with a disturbing fascination with the human body. It looked like a bright blue one-head Brahmin with wings and a rainbow head was trying to fight off what seemed to be the love child of a rad scorpion, a cazador, and a coyote. As if to make the whole situation even weirder, something that probably shouldn't have been possible, the Brahmin thing seemed to be screaming, actually screaming for help. If we could speak the same language, I would be willing to bet my Pip-Boy it was actually saying help. I'll admit, I don't always think things through before acting. That's the main reason that crazy fuck Elijah managed to get me in the Sierra Madre in the first place. I pulled out my submachine gun off my back and lined a shot. Not once did I think this might not be the best idea I've ever had. Definitely up there with the time I woke up in Freeside in a dress. No, I will not tell you how that happened. What it did teach me is that jet and absinthe do not mix well. It's a miracle the king didn't have me shot. Anyway, I lined up the shot on that weird cazador coyote thing, which I learned later was called something along the lines of a manticore, and squeezed the trigger. What a lot of people don't know is that the 12.7 has a rather large kickback, powerful enough to send a weaker man onto his ass. By now, I learned how to compensate for it, but still pushed you back a bit no matter what. I didn't have my footing, so I fell over, right into the patch of the strangest blue flowers I've ever seen. Turns out they were poisonous in some way. But being completely covered and wearing a filter as part of the helmet meant that nothing bad happened. The manticore went down. Turns out I missed the head and only hit it in the torso. I still killed it, so no biggie. At the time I regretted not using VATS, but at least I didn't hit the Brahmin thing. And then something in my head started screaming at me, telling me I did know the right words. As I was picking myself up, it poked at the creature with what looked like a hoof. It was weird seeing human expressions on what looked so much like an animal. I thought talking to the think tank, still need to kill them, was strange enough. But they were once human too, so I guess it wasn't that bad. Then, just as I stood up and decided to get a better look at it, it screamed. Turns out killing something was not the best way to go when it came to making a good impression. Never mind the fact that I had just saved it from becoming lunch to that thing. It looked around trying to figure out what or who had been responsible. Must have thought there was an invisible ghost or monster responsible. I hate Nightkin, especially when they appear 3 feet in front of you with a frickin' sledgehammer. That was about the time when I remembered what the proper word was. Horse. I remember seeing that word in the title of a book I gave to Papa Khan to motivate him to build a nation instead of just another tribe. Then I noticed the thing looking straight at me with vivid red eyes. I had said that aloud, and it had heard me. Fuck. Rainbow stared at the strange thing, the pain in her wing forgotten. The way its eyes glowed a menacing red were, in a way, hypnotic. It looked like nothing she had ever seen before. It had the basic body shape and posture as a diamond dog, but stood much straighter, making it seem taller. It appeared to be wearing a lot of clothing, most made of a material she didn't recognize. What was most frightening about it, though, was the thing it held, a strange box that spat out a number of, she didn't know what, but it had torn through the chest of a manticore like it was paper. If it turned the thing to her. All I could do is really stare. After all, the small winged horse seemed to be hyperventilating. Again, not thinking, I slung my gun to my back and stepped closer. It stepped back. I didn't want to hurt it. After all, I had just gone through the effort of saving its life. Maybe I thought I only saved it so I can kill it instead? I'm not going to hurt you, I said as loudly as the helmet would let me. Thinking back, wearing something that muffles your speech isn't exactly the best idea. For good measure, I raised my hands showing they were empty. Rainbow blinked. The creature had just made a series of growls and groans that may have been speech. With its hands raised, it seemed as though it was surrendering? But why? She had seen first hoof of what it could do. Maybe it didn't want to hurt her. Before she could ponder any further, there was a loud roar to her left. And that's when another one of those manticore things decided to show up. This one seemed thoroughly pissed off. Had I killed its baby? I don't know, and I don't care, even now. As it turned out, it was no bigger than the first one, though the tail did seem longer. I could tell it was going to attack. Wandering through the Mojave gives you a knack for that kind of thing. So before it could even get near, I managed to draw my sequela and fire off 3 shots. 2 missed. I felt like a complete idiot. After all, ammunition for those things isn't exactly 10 rounds a cap, more like 10 caps a round, if you're lucky. The 3rd shot tore a nice big hole in its wing. Didn't know at the time, but I was using hollow point rounds. What did this mean? It meant a hole the size of my head, a lot of blood, and a very pissed off animal. I thought death claws were fast. Those guys have nothing on these guys. With a death claw, I would be able to get at least another shot off before it would strike. I had barely enough time to raise my pistol before it smacked me with a paw. I must have flown a good 10 feet before I hit the ground. Thank God for the Kevlar on this thing, it will have ripped me open. Now you see, one does not simply hit the courier. No, if you hit me, you can expect to get hit twice as hard, and that's exactly what I did. It pounced at me, thinking I was down. I managed to draw my displacer glove and planted a knuckle plate right in the middle of its face. Rainbow watched in shock as the manticore went flying with a loud boom coming from things strapped to the creature's arm. She watched as it picked itself up and charged at the manticore. She would have been terrified, but this was among one of the coolest things she had ever seen. What came next made her jaw drop. Now, you get the idea that I pummeled the crap out of that thing, right? Good, because that's exactly what I did. I won't go into specifics. I punched it. A lot. What kind of detail do you know about that? In my rush to kill the thing, I managed to completely forget it had a scorpion's tail. I'd expect my armor to stop it from getting through, but I guess the fucking thing got lucky. Rat scorpion poison isn't the most pleasant of things, true, but whatever the manticore was packing made it feel like Med-X. Oh god, did it burn. Being hit with a flamer was nothing on that, I swear. It even felt worse than a Cazador sting, and that's saying something. I went down screaming. Don't look at me like that, what else was I meant to do? Still, I managed to get one last hit on it before I collapsed from the sheer agony I was going through. Turns out that was enough to kill it. Thank God too. I didn't fight at Hoover Dam to end up in the stomach of some mammal. Courier, Special, Strength 8, Perception 7, Endurance 9, Charisma 7, Intelligence 8, Agility 10, Luck 6. Author's note, this courier is based on my level 50 Uber Courier. Yes, you can get those special stats. It ain't easy and it requires a mod. Don't expect this to update much. This was written on a whim, so updates will come on a whim.